I froze. For a split second, the world seemed to stop. The laughter, the music, the chatter, all swallowed by the sound of her voice. My sister, the one I had trusted more than anyone, was standing in the center of my living room, her lips curved in that infuriatingly perfect smirk, announcing to everyone that my birthday party, my carefully planned, meticulously decorated, once-in-a-year celebration, was a complete joke. The balloons swayed lazily above our heads, almost mocking me, as if they knew the truth I couldn't yet voice. Streamers hung from the ceiling like fragile threads of humiliation, and my friends' faces flickered with that awkward, should we laugh or be horrified expression that made my stomach twist. My heart raced, not from excitement, but from the sudden, sharp stab of betrayal. "Look at her," my sister said, her voice sweet as honey but dripping with venom. "She thought she could actually plan something exciting. Poor Emily, trying so hard and failing so spectacularly." I wanted to scream, to tell her to shut up, but my throat felt dry and heavy. Everyone's eyes were on me, and in that instant, I realized something I had been trying to ignore for months. No one really saw me. They saw the image my sister wanted them to see, the naive, overreacting younger sister, always a step behind, always too emotional, always the joke. And she was good at it. She didn't just humiliate me, she orchestrated it. Every laugh, every gasp, every raised eyebrow played exactly how she wanted. She had planned it, I knew it in my bones, but even knowing it didn't stop the betrayal from twisting inside me like a knife. I glanced around the room. My best friends, the ones I had invited to share this day, were caught somewhere between shock and forced politeness. Some tried to chuckle nervously, unsure if laughing would make them complicit or if staying silent would make me seem weak. Family members whispered behind cupped hands, sharing glances that felt like they were measuring my reaction like a science experiment. And I felt invisible, betrayed, and exposed in a way that hurt deeper than words could describe. It wasn't just a party ruined, it was a public declaration. Emily is powerless. Emily is nothing. And I would not let her have the satisfaction. But in that moment, I couldn't move. My sister's voice cut through the silence that followed her verbal assault, punctuating each syllable with precision. She made me flinch without touching me. Every word was a carefully aimed dart at my confidence, my self-respect. My friends' laughter felt like knives, twisting further with each passing second. I tried to remind myself, don't react, stay calm, show them you're better than this. But the anger, sharp and bitter, surged beneath my skin. My chest tightened, and a low hum of fury built in my mind. I knew she was enjoying this far too much, watching me crumble, watching me hesitate, watching everyone question my worth. And that's when I saw it. A small, subtle twitch in her smirk. A flicker in her eyes that no one else noticed. The tiniest shadow of a secret hidden beneath her carefully constructed facade. My pulse skipped. It was like a signal, a clue she had left by accident, or maybe on purpose, knowing I was sharp enough to catch it. She wasn't just ruining my birthday for fun. This was strategic. Calculated. Every laugh, every whisper, every, "Oh, Emily, that's so cute," dripping with sarcasm. It had been planned for weeks, maybe months. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms, trying to anchor myself, to stop shaking. My brain raced, piecing together the puzzle that suddenly made my sister's behavior over the past months click into place. Every little humiliation, every subtle undermining, every rumor she had spread, it all made sense now. She had been setting the stage for the perfect public spectacle, and I had walked right into it. And yet, as much as my anger screamed, as much as humiliation threatened to swallow me whole, something else stirred beneath it. A quiet, cold determination. a flicker of understanding that maybe this moment, as awful as it was, could become something else entirely. I could see it already, like a shadow behind my eyes, a plan forming, delicate and intricate, waiting to unfold. But for now, I had to survive this. I had to endure this theater of cruelty while keeping my face calm, my reactions measured. If I lost control now, I would give her exactly what she wanted, and I would never forgive myself. I forced a smile, a tight, fragile mask that hid the storm inside me. I nodded politely at the relatives who glanced my way, ignoring the whispers that tried to shame me. I greeted friends with a practiced cheerfulness that made my sister's smirk falter for a fraction of a second. That tiny flicker of uncertainty, it was all I needed to know I could turn this around. As the party continued, I scanned the room, every movement, every glance, every subtle gesture. There it was again, my sister, watching me like a hawk, confident in her victory, but slipping just slightly in her attention to detail. And then my eyes caught it, a tiny, subtle glint on the table, something that didn't belong, a tiny detail, almost invisible, but unmistakable. And suddenly, everything changed. I realized in that heartbeat that this wasn't just about a ruined birthday. It was about control, manipulation, and secrets. And my sister had left one too many clues, one too many openings, one too many mistakes. I could feel the gears turning in my mind, the quiet plotting beginning. I wouldn't let this be the story everyone remembered me by. I wouldn't be the laughingstock. No, this was the first chapter of something else entirely. A long game, a maze of secrets and strategy where I intended to come out on top. And that's when I saw it. A tiny, almost imperceptible signal from her eyes, a secret I had caught. The realization hit me like a lightning bolt. She had planned more than just embarrassment. Something bigger, something irreversible was already in motion. My pulse raced, but this time not from fear. This time it was anticipation. I didn't yet know what she had done. I didn't yet know how deep the trap ran. But I knew one thing. I was no longer just a victim, and whatever came next, I would be ready. As I forced another smile and stepped carefully through the sea of fake congratulations and stifled giggles, I noticed something in her smirk, a hint that the humiliation I just endured was only the opening move. And in that moment, I realized this party was just the beginning. I couldn't let the embarrassment fade into nothing. Even as my sister laughed, carried away by the attention she so clearly craved, a storm of memories began to swirl in my mind, sharp and relentless. It wasn't just this party, it was a pattern, a trail of subtle betrayals that had been building for years, and tonight they had all culminated in one spectacular, humiliating performance. I remembered the first time I had noticed it. I was 12, and my parents had congratulated me on winning a small science competition. I had been so proud, clutching the trophy like it was gold. My sister, ever charming, had leaned in, smiled, and whispered, "Wow, Emily, good for you. But it wasn't that hard, right?" I had laughed it off then, naive, thinking it was just a sibling teasing. But looking back, that was the first flicker of a pattern, the seed of manipulation, subtle but precise. Over the years, it escalated. Rumors whispered behind my back, invitations subtly withdrawn, opportunities quietly sabotaged. She had an uncanny ability to make everyone see me as the problem, the failure, the overly sensitive sister. Every little embarrassment I endured was carefully orchestrated to chip away at my confidence. And yet, I was intelligent enough to notice the cracks, to see the truth behind her smiles, even if no one else did. Tonight, at my own birthday, all of that history had been weaponized against me. It wasn't just a party ruined, it was a culmination of years of manipulation. And it hurt, not because of the laughter or the whispers, but because I had trusted her. I had spent weeks planning this birthday. Every detail mattered. The decorations, the music, the guests, the little surprises I knew would make everyone smile. I had even baked a cake myself, carefully crafting it with the kind of love only someone who truly appreciated celebration could. I had wanted this night to be perfect, not just for me, but for everyone I cared about. And then she walked in. The moment I realized she wasn't going to play along was the moment she made that first sly comment to my friends, pointing out something trivial about me, twisting it into a joke at my expense. That was the inciting incident, the spark that set this night on fire. The humiliation I felt in front of friends and family was personal, searing, and it dug into me because it was so deliberate. But there was more than anger boiling beneath the surface. There was also a secret, a shadow I had been hiding, even from my closest friends, something I had been collecting quietly, piece by piece for months. I had started keeping a journal of every incident, every manipulation, every lie she told, photos, voice notes, messages, anything that proved the truth behind her carefully curated facade. I hadn't shared it with anyone, not yet, because I knew I couldn't just react. Reacting would give her the satisfaction. Reacting would make me predictable, vulnerable, and easy to manipulate again. No, I had to wait, observe, and prepare. As the laughter around me continued, I remembered another memory, one that burned brighter now in the context of tonight. Last year, she had accidentally spilled a story about a private moment I had shared with a friend, twisting it into a joke that made me look foolish. Everyone had laughed, but I had noticed something else, the small, triumphant sparkle in her eyes. That spark was there tonight, too, but bigger, sharper, and more dangerous. And then there were the whispers, tiny, almost imperceptible comments she had made to family members leading up to the party. Each one seemed harmless on its own, but together they were a carefully woven narrative designed to frame me as childish, incompetent, and incapable of enjoying my own celebration. The more I thought about it, the more furious I became. But fury alone wasn't enough. I needed strategy. I needed patience. That's when I realized this wasn't just about tonight, it was about control. My sister had always wanted to control how people saw me, how I reacted, how I felt about myself. And now, for the first time, I had evidence, clarity, and focus. I could see the pattern clearly. Every betrayal, every joke, every cruel whisper was a move in a game I hadn't agreed to play, but one I was now ready to rewrite entirely. I took a deep breath, forcing calm over the storm of emotions inside me. My hands were trembling slightly, but my mind was sharp, alert, analyzing every detail. I began noting tiny things, how she positioned herself in photos, how she whispered into my friends' ears, how she orchestrated the laughter. Each observation was a clue, a thread I could follow to untangle the maze she had constructed around me. And then, just as I thought I was beginning to map her moves, I remembered the last message she had sent me that morning, an innocuous text that now looked sinister in hindsight. "Can't wait to see your surprise," it had read. A simple sentence, but with all I had learned, I realized it wasn't innocent. She had planned the setup from the start. She knew exactly how I would react, and she had prepared the room, the guests, and the chaos to maximize my humiliation. A shiver ran down my spine, not from fear, but from the cold thrill of clarity. I knew now that I wasn't just dealing with a mean-spirited sister. I was facing someone who had meticulously calculated every humiliation to hit where it hurt the most. But that knowledge didn't paralyze me. No, it did the opposite. It made me alert, focused, and ready. I realized that every action, every smirk, every word she had used tonight was an opening, a crack I could exploit. And for the first time since the party began, I felt the faint stirrings of control return. I didn't yet know how, or when, or even the full extent of what I could do, but I knew one thing. I had a secret she could never predict, a weapon she couldn't see coming. And when the time came, she would realize that the girl she thought she controlled was far smarter than she imagined. As the laughter died down and my sister moved to corner another guest with her charm, I caught a glimpse of something hidden in her bag, a note, a device, a plan I didn't yet understand. My pulse quickened. This wasn't just a party gone wrong. This was the opening move in a game far bigger than either of us had imagined. And I knew, deep down, the next move would change everything. The days after my birthday were worse than the party itself. My sister didn't stop. If anything, her attacks became sharper, more deliberate. Every small interaction was a calculated move. She would casually bring up stories that twisted the truth, planting doubts in the minds of friends and family. A compliment here, a whisper there. She made me look ridiculous without ever lifting her voice. One evening, as I prepared dinner for my parents, she accidentally spilled her drink across the counter, then laughed as if it were funny. But in her laughter, I saw the strategy, the way she framed it, making it seem like my clumsiness caused the mess. My parents chuckled, and my friends, visiting later, whispered, "Emily, maybe be more careful next time." It was subtle, almost invisible to anyone else, but I saw it, and it burned. Then came the texts. She started sending messages disguised as jokes, saying things like, "Don't get too excited, Emily. We all know how things end for you." Each one felt like a pinprick, designed to wear me down. My phone buzzed constantly, each notification tightening the knot of frustration in my chest. But something inside me had shifted. I realized that being cornered didn't mean being powerless. I began paying closer attention to her patterns, observing her movements, her choices, even her small facial expressions. Every smirk, every glance, every subtle attempt to undermine me became a piece of data, a piece of the trap she had unknowingly left open. I started testing her, responding in ways she didn't expect. I held my composure when she tried to provoke me. I smiled when she wanted embarrassed. I even started documenting these moments, taking mental notes of everything. Her confidence, which once seemed untouchable, began to waver in small, almost imperceptible ways. And yet, the most terrifying part was knowing she had planned something bigger, something I couldn't yet fully see. I caught whispers, secretive glances between her and certain family members. It was clear this was more than just teasing or rivalry. She was orchestrating a public humiliation on a larger scale. I clenched my fists, feeling a mixture of fury and anticipation. I refused to be her pawn any longer. I wouldn't react out of fear or embarrassment. I had to play smarter. I had to wait, and I had to prepare. That night, as I lay awake, replaying every interaction in my mind, I realized something chilling. My sister hadn't just set a trap for me. She had already laid the groundwork for a moment where I could lose everything publicly. And for the first time, I understood the stakes. If I wasn't careful, this time no one would laugh with me. They would all laugh at me. I stopped waiting. I had observed, documented, and analyzed her every move long enough. The humiliation, the whispers, the smirks, they no longer had power over me. Tonight, I became the one in control. It started small, a casually dropped comment to a family member, a question that seemed innocent but was designed to reveal her lies. I let her think she still had the upper hand, smiling politely as she tried to provoke me. Every action I took was deliberate. Every word I spoke was calculated. And then came the moment I had been waiting for. The first twist. The one no one, not even my sister, saw coming. I revealed a small piece of the evidence I had been secretly gathering, a voice recording of her planning a birthday disaster, carefully edited to sound casual and playful, yet undeniable to anyone who listened. The room froze. Her smirk faltered. My friends and family, previously unsure whom to believe, suddenly began to question her version of reality. She realized, too late, that I had known everything all along. The power dynamic shifted instantly. For the first time, she hesitated, unsure of how to regain control. And I, finally free from the fear that had held me hostage for months, felt a surge of clarity. This wasn't about revenge yet. It was about revealing the truth and letting her unravel under the weight of her own deceit. Her confident facade cracked, her whispers turned into stammers, and the carefully constructed image she had maintained for years began to crumble. And just as I watched her falter, I caught the tiniest glimmer in her eyes, a signal that she wasn't done, and that the next move would require even sharper strategy. I realized with a cold shiver of anticipation that exposing her partially was only the beginning. She had plans within plans, and the next confrontation, public, messy, unforgettable, was about to unfold. The night of the family dinner arrived, and the air was thick with tension. My sister walked in, radiant as ever, completely unaware that tonight's stage had shifted under her feet. Everyone expected her charm to dominate, her words to charm, her pranks to humiliate. But this time, I was ready. As she mingled, laughing and glancing at me with that familiar smirk, I played my part perfectly. Polite, calm, composed. Then, at just the right moment, I triggered the first piece of the plan. A casual mention of that funny birthday mishap sent her eyes darting toward me. She froze, sensing something, but couldn't yet pinpoint what. I let the moment stretch, tension building like a coiled spring. Then, with careful timing, I handed my phone to my mother and casually asked her to listen to something Emily found. The recording played, a clear, undeniable conversation of my sister planning my birthday disaster months ago. The room went silent. Her face turned pale. The carefully constructed mask of innocence shattered in seconds. Friends exchanged shocked glances. Family members whispered in disbelief. She stammered, tried to explain, but the evidence was airtight. Every lie, every manipulation, every cruel plan exposed in front of everyone she thought she had charmed. I watched her crumble, the power I had reclaimed surging through me. The whispers she had sown for months now bounced back onto her. My friend's eyes, once uncertain, now reflected respect and awe. My parents looked stunned, realizing the truth for the first time. But the chaos wasn't over. My sister, desperate, tried to pivot, to twist the story, to regain some control. That's when I revealed the second piece. A photo, another voice note, a message she thought she had deleted. Each reveal landed like a hammer, each one more damning than the last. The public unraveling was complete. The room buzzed with tension, shocked murmurs, and stifled laughter. My sister, once untouchable, sat humiliated and powerless, her charm completely gone. And I, calm, collected, victorious, let the reactions speak for themselves. As she slumped into her chair, defeated, I noticed a subtle movement in the corner of the room. A figure who had been quietly observing the entire chaos smiled faintly. An ally of my sister? Or someone with their own hidden agenda? The game, I realized, might not be over yet. The dust settled slowly, like ash drifting from a fire I had ignited. My sister's smirk was gone, replaced with the pale, tense expression of someone who had lost control completely. The room, once buzzing with gossip and whispers, was now silent, heavy with disbelief. Friends whispered among themselves, exchanging glances that said, without words, "We didn't know." I stood there, calm, observing the aftermath. The adrenaline that had fueled me during the confrontation was fading, replaced by a cold clarity. I realized that winning in public didn't erase the scars of years of manipulation. It didn't undo the whispers, the humiliation, or the subtle betrayals that had eroded trust over time. But it did reclaim something far more important: my power, my dignity, my voice. My parents were quiet, still processing what had just unfolded. A few friends approached me, cautiously admiring my composure, some apologizing for not believing me sooner. I smiled politely, masking the deeper, more complicated emotions swirling inside me. Victory was sweet, but it was tinged with a bitter awareness. Relationships would never be the same. And then, as I turned to leave the room for a moment of solitude, I noticed it. A subtle movement, a flash of recognition in someone I had trusted. The figure who had been quietly observing during the public reveal was not just a bystander. They had been feeding information to my sister all along, carefully monitoring my actions, calculating their own advantage. A shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't over. Not truly. My sister had been exposed, yes, but the web of manipulation stretched further than I had realized. Someone else, closer than I thought, had been quietly plotting alongside her. The realization hit me with a cold weight. My victory had come at a cost, and I had yet to uncover the full extent of the game. I stepped back, letting the chaos settle around me, but inside, I was already planning. I would remain vigilant, patient, and precise. I had learned a lesson about trust: hard, unyielding, and permanent. Not everyone who smiles with you is loyal. Not every ally is genuine. The scars of manipulation lingered, and the path ahead required intelligence, observation, and ruthless strategy. As I left the room, I looked back at my sister. She avoided my gaze, but I could see it. Humiliation, anger, fear, and regret all tangled together in her expression. I had won the battle, but the war of subtle power, of control, of trust and betrayal was far from over. And in that moment, a chilling thought settled in my mind. Perhaps the most dangerous enemies aren't the ones who openly betray you. They're the ones who watch quietly, smiling behind a mask, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The person I had trusted most, the one I confided in, shared secrets with, relied on, had been secretly siding with my sister all along. The betrayal ran deeper than anyone could see, leaving me to wonder, in a world full of hidden agendas, can true loyalty ever exist?